episode of The Making of, and I have Metaclean Rupert in the flesh.
What's up? What's up,
in the
everybody?
flesh. I am so excited. We finally made it here, and we get to get the ins and the outs, and y'all already know. Okay, y'all already know what it is. He's coming to give us the tea. He's giving us the spiel. He's giving us everything. So let's have it. Introduce yourself, sir.
Well, first of all, let me tell you, I might get a little choked up, man.
Oh my God.
Divine has definitely been one of my closest friends in this space. We've been through a lot together, the ups and downs, and the success has been amazing. So to be able to meet you for the first time physically after 2 years, man, is something really, really special. And I'm really, really grateful to be here. And I'm appreciative that you'd even consider me to be your first guest. So
I told you we wasn't gonna do the waterworks just out the gate.
No, we're gonna keep it real, man. So if it gets emotional, you're gonna have to bear with us a little bit. So
definitely. But let's get started. Metaclean Rupert, where did it all begin?
Man, so what's up, y'all? First of all, my name is Metaclean Rupert. A lot of you may know me, a lot of you may not. I have been on the platform since December of 2021. And, talking about my metaverse journey, it really began out of curiosity. I bought the headset with intentions that I didn't really plan to have the headset. Thought I'd be able to resell it. Found out I couldn't because there was another big shipment right before Christmas. So I opened it up and put it on, and man, it was instantaneous what I saw what the VR space could become.
Yeah.
The way we were able to connect with people, the way spatially and with audio, and the way we really felt we were in the same room with people was transformative.
Yeah.
It was different. It was very, very different. I'm a creator. I've been a photographer. I've been in fashion. I've been in the music industry. So creativity is nothing new to me. I've made a living doing that on and off for a while, right? So I knew when I entered the space, I thought I'd want to be like a heavy creator. But my experiences, my age, and some of the things I've learned and failed at and won at in life just caused me, I think, to kind of play a more mentorship role and kind of help creators figure the space out. I have an understanding for the space, which I developed very early because I spend a lot of time analyzing and looking and just paying attention to everything that's going on. So some of those things I've learned have been helpful to some people. And, if you can see value in anything I do, then I'm more than happy to help.
And that's the way it needs to be. I'm so happy to have you here. You have no idea. I'm like overwhelmed, and I'm trying to keep my bushes under wraps.
It's very surreal. It is surreal. I can't tell you how many conversations we've probably had in the metaverse.
Oh my gosh.
About everything, not just about creativity, about life, our families, or things that friends talk about. So to actually do that in person is very surreal.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you 100%. But what I want you to expound on is what you do in the space.
Yeah.
I really want people to get an understanding of what part you play and why it's important to have someone on your team that plays that part.
Sure.
You mind breaking that down for
me? Yeah, of course. So I said before, I'm a creator and I'm a creative. But I don't necessarily enjoy the process of building in the platform, right? And the Rise and Evolve is presented itself into a place that's super social. It's fun to get in there on the grid and build with your friends, and you can literally, honestly, do anything, right? Anything you want to see, anything you want to do, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
But there are very different levels of skill set.
Yes.
in there, right?
Yes, sir.
And I realized that my level of skill set just wasn't there, and only because not that I can't do it, but because I'm not really passionate about it, right? That's not really what makes me happy in the space. For some creators, I think being in build mode and creating fantastic pieces of art and things that are really functional, that's a happy space.
It is.
But I haven't always found my happy space in there. I like being in build mode sometimes, but then sometimes I don't, right? But what really connected for me, honestly, were the people and seeing the level of creativity that people had, and not always necessarily knowing what to do with it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think we have an understanding, and definitely you can speak to this,
Oh, yeah.
right? That this space can be transformative, not just for your social networks, but for business, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of money that can be made in this space,
Yes.
and it doesn't necessarily have to happen on Horizon Worlds. I think,
Right.
honestly, quite honestly, to be completely frank, and again, I don't want to discourage anybody, but we give a lot of our creativity away for free in that space.
Absolutely.
And we do it for little to no recognition in the big scheme of things.
Yeah.
And even, getting into what that looks like financially to some people, that's not really, if you're looking at it from a financial standpoint, that's not really where you want to spend all of your
Definitely.
time, right? Because there's a whole, Horizon World has introduced us to this whole VR space.
Yes, they have.
And on the other side, it can be really financially rewarding.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yes, it can.
And we don't recognize that sometimes our own talent with the things we build and how much that's really worth to the open market, not just Horizon World.
Right.
So, but I found myself that with my understanding of the space, I've been really good for people coming into the space who really don't know what the possibilities are. I've shown a little bit of expertise in kind of translating that to people that are in the space and professionals coming into the space too, about what can I really do in here that will make a difference or make an impact. And for me, it's never really been about the money. Obviously, we need money to survive. We need those tools, right? But I think the impact of what this space can be is as what's always excited me.
Yeah.
So because of that, I've always tried things, not necessarily for it to be popular or super engaging, but I do know that being the first, or at least to use that term loosely, being a pioneer, is you have to put yourself out there. You have to try things, and it's not always going to win, right? But you're going to learn from everything that you try.
That's true.
So being a creator is difficult, especially if you approach creativity from an artistic standpoint, because you give a lot of your emotions to your creativity and you just put it out there for the world for people to judge.
That's true.
And that's difficult for people to have what's inside their brain or their heart or their soul judged by other people, because we know how much time it's taken for us. We know how important it is for us to showcase this stuff, but also how difficult it is to share that stuff with people sometimes.
That's true.
And to do that and then just release it. And I like the term I like to use is once you put it out there, it's for the streets.
It's for the streets.
But it's also up for judgment from anybody for everything, and it may not be necessarily productive judgment or things that are going to benefit you in that judgment. A lot of times it may be because someone doesn't necessarily like the way you move in the space, so they're going to take it out on your creativity.
Absolutely.
Because that's all they have to go by.
That's all they have.
But you're subjected to that as you sit there and listen to these comments, and you have to be kind of strong-willed to not let it affect you, because if you let it affect you, you don't want to create again.
Right.
And then that kind of defeats the purpose.
That's true.
Right. So your creativity needs to be an individual journey. Whatever success looks like for you needs to be an individual journey, as opposed to looking at what other people are doing, engaging their success as your success.
Right.
Because that is a surefire way not to be happy in
I'm
that space.
telling you, I can definitely identify as being a creative in the space, and how I started not having any expectations of anything, not knowing what programs were out there, not knowing what opportunities were out there, just loving it for what it is. And that for me changed because you listen to what people have to say. I had someone come and visit one day, and they say, "Oh wow, I'm surprised that this came from you because you're heavy on the design of things. You're not really one that I would think that would even approach this particular thing." Because I branched out and tried to do something that I was not usually seen for. But the judgment side of things, where they can come and judge your life's work, they don't realize how much. I didn't realize how much my emotions went into it, because when I first came into it, it was me doing it to get away from an escape from my job, and how stressful it was, and it helped me because it's therapeutic. And then when you come in and you have all these people come and look at what you do, and the response
Yeah.
and them not being receptive of it the
Yeah.
way that you feel definitely is like, okay, I ain't gonna lie to you. It's some heavy hitters that
Yeah.
came and popped up and would just show up and say, oh, well, man, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And I'm like, okay, well, this came from, this is
Right.
this is my heart, this
Right.
is my soul, this is what I put into it. This
Yeah.
I'm passionate about this. And it's hard to be, receptive to, okay, you've been here for 5
Yeah.
months, you've been here for 8 months, a year, or forever, however long. And it just wasn't received well.
Yeah.
What I can say is when we met and when I finally met you for the first time.
And I think we were on Kanban Superman.
We
Bill.
were.
Yeah. The first time
Vintage, right,
Yeah.
right. Feels like it. But what I can say is you have definitely played a pivotal part in the early creation of who M5 Divine Time was. You definitely came in the gate and sowed some really good seeds, and I'm not gonna cry. You did, and
You get me emotional.
I'm telling you, but it means
Right.
so much coming into a platform, not knowing what I was doing, not knowing what type of impact I wanted to do,
Right.
what my plans were. Because I remember people would ask me, "What do you want to do with this?" And I'm like, "I just want to be here.
Right.
I'm happy to be here."
Right.
But you sowed those seeds to actually get me to figure
Right.
it out. And you told me, you were like, okay, this is the name of the game is luxury. And that light bulb came on and it
Yeah.
never went off for
Yeah.
me. And we've been able to leverage that into a business that I would have never, ever thought in my wildest dreams.
Right.
You've gotten opportunities just by you directing us and saying, well, you should just take it a little bit
Right.
further. That was the smallest thing. The smallest thing is just giving those words of encouragement.
Yeah.
Really pushed us along. And I will sing it from the rooftops
Well, I appreciate
until I can't sing it anymore, because it needs to be more people that are willing to sow those seeds. Bump, you do this better than me.
Right.
Bump, I don't know how to do this, but or taking advantage or all that. Bump all that. That's what the community
Right.
needs to be about. And that's, if we can go back to that, I feel like we can get a whole lot further down the
Yeah.
line than where we're at now.
Yeah.
Because there's not us as veterans, I'm saying.
Yeah.
3 years almost.
Right.
Okay. And it makes it's hard for me it's not palatable for me
Right.
to sit amongst it and see this is what it has become, for something that I love,
Yeah.
for something that is
Yeah.
just that I'm passionate about, and to see it just go in that direction.
Yeah.
I'm like, all of these people that are now the upper echelon,
Yeah.
the people that have grown leaps and bounds,
Yeah.
been
The
mentioned,
top creators.
the top,
Right.
that is their job. I feel, in my humble opinion, I feel that it's their job to guide the people that are coming in.
Yeah.
Because if we knowing what we know, what the industry is,
Mm-hmm.
we know how the system works.
Right.
We know how to get the people in the door. We know who to send them to.
Right.
And it's a network of things
Yeah.
that can happen
Yeah.
because we're all interconnected,
Yeah.
and we individually know, okay, well, this person knows how to do this.
Yeah.
This person's good with logos. This person is good with this. And if we connect that somehow,
Right.
it really can push things. This can be a culture pushed forward. Yeah. And we have the opportunity to redo what's wrong in the world.
Right.
If people look at it, I mean, if this is a whole nother opportunity to revamp communication amongst us.
We talk a lot about, with the Black man, we talk a lot about Wakanda, right? And what Wakanda represents to Black people, right? And really all it is the freedom to live your life the way you want to live it.
That's right.
So unfortunately, in this space, because we oftentimes mimic other people's success,
mm-hmm.
we don't ever tap into our own genuine or our own authenticity
mm-hmm.
around everything in hopes of achieving the fame or the recognition that some of the other creators get.
True.
But for me, man, and I'll just talk about you, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that always struck me about you was, again, yes, you are a phenomenal creator, right? But there are a lot of phenomenal creators.
Yes.
But I never wanted you to give up on this space because of what somebody else did. right? And I think a lot of us in this space, we downplay our own creativity.
Right.
And a lot of the time it's just out of fear.
Yeah.
Because we're scared of our own success.
Right.
So we can let what somebody else says about us justify what we feel inside internally in order for us to say, you know what, this space really wasn't for me, without ever giving it a chance to know whether or not it is for you, right? I, I think the thing that upsets me most is when somebody really talented or I know can succeed in this space will leave here because of what somebody said to them.
Right.
And you know, especially in the metaverse, we control and curate our entire existence. There are so many tools we have in place that can prevent people that we don't want to hear from ever connecting to us, right? We can block them, we can leave the world, I mean, we can do a ton of different things. So a lot of times, man, when we allow people to put whatever they're going through on us, you know, because hurt people.
That's it.
It shakes our confidence, and so much of this space is about confidence. The reason I think I'm effective with people is because I don't expect people who have just started in this space to be at a certain level.
Right.
And it doesn't mean they can't get there, but I'm not going to judge a creator who's been in here 1 week and have presented their first build to somebody that's been in here 2 years that has 160 credits under their name, right? Like you have to meet people where they are at the time, and I'm going to meet that person accordingly. Now, if there's things they want from me where they want me to be more honest about what they should be doing to get there, then I can absolutely do that. But you know, if you come in and you're there for a week and you've already built your first world, to me that's already impressive. Right.
Okay.
So at that point, I don't really care what it looks like. I'm just happy for you that you've had the courage that it took to release that world and give it out to the public. Because these worlds that we create mean nothing to us if we don't ever show them to people. Unless you're doing it for therapy and that's your happy space and you're okay not showing it, that's fine. But you know, I talk to a lot of people in this space and the conversations are really similar. And I always hear, well, the world's not ready or I have to do this. Well, there is no perfection in this space because there's always going to be an opportunity to make or improve as the technology improves, as your relationships with other people improve, as your mind expands. There is no perfection in this world.
That's true.
Sometimes you just got to hit that publish button and get it out there. And once it's out of your system, man, that opens you up to start working on other stuff, right? Because you can leave that item in your create mode for months and months and months, and you tinker there and you tinker here and you're waiting for perfection that you really won't ever achieve.
I feel like you're coming for me. I feel like you're throwing. I feel like you're throwing a few jabs, and I don't know if I want to take that personal or not because I can agree because I spent last year and even parts of the year before in my head worried about what people had to say, and I go back 393 worlds that could have been published that never saw the light of day because of things that people had to say, because of things that I even had reservations in. And it's so crazy that, you know, all of those worlds never came out, but I still ended up getting to all of these heights and areas that I never expected.
Well, let me ask you a question. So you had all these worlds, right? I know you've published a lot, but I've
published 45.
Right, but you probably not published more than that. But when you publish, what did publishing those worlds do for you? Like, would those opportunities that you see now ever happen if nobody ever saw them?
No, that's the thing. The opportunities that we have gotten was based on what we published.
Yeah.
It was if those things never would have saw the light of day, we probably wouldn't have a business right now. So I mean, I get what you mean, but it's just important that, and I want creators to understand whether it's VR chat, whether it's Horizon Worlds, whether it's Shapes XR, I want you to understand that you have to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
You have to see past the front of your face and understand down the line somebody else may see that and they may say, okay, man, that is incredible. And that catapults you to the next place. I had no intent, like I had no plans, and hitting a year, I think, yeah, February 2022.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, this anniversary this year is
Of launching the company?
of no, the company will be 3 years old in June. But I never expected Met even mentioning me. That was huge.
Right.
And because I was in my head, I couldn't even celebrate.
Yeah.
Because I was worried about what people had to say. I didn't
Yeah.
even get a chance to enjoy and relish the fact
Right.
that there was people that this didn't happen for.
Yeah.
And for me to be not have any seniority
Right.
and know anybody, have to compromise, having
Right.
not to have integrity, having to do something
Right.
wrong to get seen. I didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah. Just
But
based on your creativity.
just based on my
and
creativity.
hitting that publish button.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And got a chance to tell them about my business, got a chance to put my business name out there, got to tell them about all of the people that are connected to me.
Right. But that's important though, because I want to say this delicately because I don't want to offend anybody. But the main question I hear over and over and over again is how do I get monetized, right? And
monetize yourself.
And that's the point.
Monetize
right?
yourself.
You don't need validation from anybody else if you can cater to an audience who you can service, right? And it doesn't have to be through a major corporation.
No.
It could be minor, but I guarantee you, everybody has a skill that they can monetize in this space without necessarily having the back end of a corporation. Now, if you feel like that gives you a certain amount of validation, then
It's
fine.
great.
But I care little about that type of monetization,
Right.
because it puts you in a different mindset. You're always constantly on a grind, and you're always chasing in order to maintain a certain level
That's it.
of creativity,
That's
right?
it.
So you lose,
But you're still within a small box.
but you're still within a small box, right?
Box. You're not even thinking about the fact that we're in a
Right.
space that is not defined
Right.
by space.
Yeah,
So how would you put yourself in this teeny
Yeah.
tiny space, and you're in a space that is bigger than time?
I mean, you're
come
you're
on.
building for engagement,
That's
and
it.
and that may not necessarily bring you joy. And
No.
unfortunately, I've seen so many people who are in the program who aren't happy. Like they've made it, and they realize that they're not as happy as they thought they would be. Now, there's some people I think that thrive in the program, but for the most part, it is a chase. It is a constant chase because you're
It's like
always
working a
worried
regular
about
job.
engagement. Yeah, like
like
what do I do to get a promotion? Like, do I show up earlier for work? Do I stay later? Do I kiss butt? Do I code switch? Do I come out of my natural
But
character
I
to
think
be
it all
paid attention
boils.
to?
I think it all boils down to who you're doing it for.
That is true.
I think once, and it's crazy because Cambium said this to me when I started. He said, "What are you doing it for?"
Yeah.
He said, "Once you figure out what you're doing this for, are you doing it for popularity? Are you doing it to be seen? What is the end goal?" It's so funny. The conversations that my little circle, because my circle's small, but the conversations that we have are so impactful because I remember, I mean, if we talk about Nikki Danielle, she always talked to me about what I wanted to do. Okay, so yes, you do this, but what is the end game?
Right.
Having that plan, because I'm like, at the end of the day, if someone sees what you're doing and they want to grab you to do something great, you're not engaged. You won't have time to engage with people. You won't have time to be available in world 24/7 to be able to clock a certain amount.
Right.
So you gotta expand your mindset to not just think, okay, I want to do this. This is great. This is great. But just think,
how far can
it go? In the event, God forbid, because I know a lot of us will probably lose it. But in the event things shift in the next year and another headset comes out and it's bigger and better and greater. We just got that. I just got the Vision Pro, and you see how much the big old line has been drawn in the sand. Now we're back to half and half.
Right.
Even though honestly they're kind of on equal playing field, but you see where things are at right now. We're not even at the middle. We're not even in the middle of the year, and that shift has come. So that means that everyone that's here is going to have to level up by 10,000 by July.
Yeah, and listen, we've seen it play out before, right? We witnessed a whole popular metaverse cease to exist.
Oh yeah, we've seen it, and it can happen.
And it can happen.
So knowing it can happen, don't put your eggs in one basket. You can dip and dabble in everything that you can dip and dabble in, so that you can. Because if you really think about it, majority of these platforms that are on the headset now, they're on every headset.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that if you dabble here, you're dabbling in all of those other headsets. You're connecting with all those other creators on a whole different plane. Don't limit yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look, I love it. I love to see it. It's great. It's wonderful and awesome. This is home for me.
Yeah.
I would never, ever want to diminish anybody's view of what it is, but expand your mind.
Yeah.
Expand your mindset. Don't limit yourself. Get yourself in gear so that you can move past this. I mean, we have all these different things that they're making virtual reality a thing. They've added college programs. They've added that degree programs for VR and AR. You have colleges that have come into VR and AR.
Yeah, we don't even tap into the medical field.
We haven't even touched it, because if you go to the HTC Vive, they're already in colleges. Yeah. They're doing surgeries, teaching these people how to do surgery. So I'm like, okay, you really have to get past it. I mean, it's great, and I love to engage. I love to go to these experiences, but expand your mindset to think it's not just here.
Yeah,
it's so much bigger than this.
Yeah, Horizon it's such an awesome entry point for this space, all right? Because it really teaches you the fundamentals of 3D development. Yes. Right, 15 of the most popular shapes that you use to create. Mm-hmm. You can manipulate them in any way or form that you see fit, and you can really come out with. I mean, just look at all the worlds and what's come out of the space with those 15 shapes. Even long before we had access to the asset box, and we can bring in stuff already pre-made.
Vintage now, you see vintage.
Man, listen, I may be aging myself. But look at what was able to be created with those 15 shapes.
Oh my God!
And it's almost unbelievable, because anybody at any level can get in there and create something and share it with their friends and have positive experiences.
Definitely.
We can't take that stuff lightly, but I think it also depends on not just what you create, but the type of community that gathers around your creativity.
I'm telling you.
And I think that's the piece that unfortunately a lot of us miss in this space, because it really starts with that community. I think Andrew Money proved that all you need is a box in the room and you can engage your crowd.
Oh my God, you're telling the truth.
What was it, the blue box or the white box, whatever it was? And it doesn't really matter what the build looks like. Oh, yeah. Like, I think aesthetically it can aid to the experience, but ultimately
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter what that build looks like, right? It's the people you surround yourself
with. That's it.
I mean, we're sitting here in a room in Texas. After 2 years of talking to each other in
a black box.
in a black box. When it's time to go home, you hit the power switch and you're home and I'm home and we're done, right? So how far this thing can go is really dependent on how far you want to take it.
It's true.
And it's limitless. And especially now seeing what's happening on the development side, seeing how many companies are immersing themselves in VR, and of course the money being spent on these platforms. I mean, Apple's introduced a brand new headset that they've been developing for the past, what was the patent filed in 2007?
They said, I was looking at an article, they said by 2027, 4.65 billion people should be in VR. They said that it was around, almost 3 billion last year.
I believe it.
So, and it's not saying which specific, that's over all.
And that's just VR. We haven't even touched on what we're doing in VR. That's not even including the metaverse.
No.
I mean, that's a very fractional number compared to the VR headsets that are out there. And so many people have headsets and have never entered into the metaverse.
Right.
Which is, from a social aspect, we know what that means. We're one pandemic away from going back into the metaverse.
I'm telling you. And it's like, I mean, it really is. It's so interesting, and I try my best, my level best, to really tell people and try to get them to that to get that aha moment.
Yeah.
Because I know when my aha moment came, it didn't take me long.
Right.
Because I couldn't stand where I was at. I couldn't stand being at my job. I was literally immersing myself just to get through 8 hours of a shift.
Which is tough.
But
being somewhere you don't want to be all
day long, and couldn't stand it. I mean, I had to put myself in a sunken place just to do the job. And one of the conversations that we've had, I mean, we had so many, but I know it was one of those, conversations. I think it was right after I had heart surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And you were one of the first people I called after I got out.
Yeah, actually, I don't even think you were. I think you were still in the hospital bed.
I was like, and I called, but I had to call.
Are you still in the?
Yeah. But I mean, that just tells you how far our friendship goes. Right. But I mean, after that, knowing that I could probably leave here and they would just replace me, I was just like, okay, that was it for me. I was gone a month later. It wasn't, I don't even think it was 30 days. I had my surgery July the 5th, and I was out of there by August the 22nd.
Yeah. Unfortunately, working for a corporation, man, you're a number. And, I can't fault the corporation. They have a budget and a bottom line to cater to. But I just don't always feel that's healthy.
No, it's not.
Us. Yeah.
It's not.
And, even if you look at it from a financial standpoint, right, being an entrepreneur, following your dream, may not always lead to financial success, but the amount of peace that it provides you
quality of life
can't be given by working for somebody else.
It's the quality of life.
And not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur, right? Some people are extremely happy at their jobs, and it's okay to stay there. But if you're not happy doing something, like, you have to change it, because we only get so much time in this world.
That's right.
And to give it to somebody who doesn't necessarily appreciate you and you don't get any fulfillment from it, we have to find another way to do things. Right. But it takes, again, the confidence into taking that leap, right? Which is hopefully, as I've moved through this space, I try to install in people just to be confident to try it. Like my motto, that, if you know me, my motto: create, love, inspire, and add value. And I truly, wholeheartedly believe if you can tap into any one of those 4 things, you find a piece of peace or happiness in the space. Every interaction I try to have with people doesn't always work successfully, but every interaction, I always try to leave just a little bit of value with them. And that could show up in a number of different ways, whether pointing them in the right direction, where I may not be the right person for you, but I can show you who the right person might be. Sharing an asset that I'm never going to use, or giving them a little bit of advice, or anything. You can add value in a bunch of different ways. But I think if we get to the point where we think as equally about our fellow members as we do about ourselves, I think the space changes and evolves. Right? You can't necessarily help people if you're not in a space where you can be helpful, if that makes sense. So a lot of that journey involves us internalizing and being realistic about ourselves and what brings us happiness. Right? I thought initially being a creator, creating worlds would bring me happiness, and I realized pretty quickly that it didn't. Right? Didn't enjoy the building, didn't necessarily enjoy the time it took to build, and when I did build it, the reaction that I got from the world wasn't there. Right? So yes, I could have chased it in hopes of, or I can kind of tap back into my skill set and the thing that I hold valuable, which is helping other people, and then just really hone into that. Right? I spend the majority of my time in this space in the service of others. I still have dreams. There's still stuff I want to do in the space. I've got a couple of platforms that people may or may know about, but even with the success of Meta Talks Live, and again, my level of success, nobody else's, because I don't care if it's no one in the audience. The show's going to happen, and I'm going to give my undivided attention to the person on that stage.
Now, with you going ahead and tapping in, because I was just
ready. Yeah, let's talk about it.
So let's talk about what made you come up with Meta Talks Live.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to be completely honest, man. I was coming up with a build. I felt, I'm not going to say bad for myself, but I felt like I had something to prove. I came off that build feeling it was a phenomenal build, but I came out of that build feeling unsatisfied, right? The amount of energy, the amount of work that went into it, the amount of conversations with the creatives involved that happened. Um, but also, I didn't like my value being questioned, right? I bring a certain thing to a table. May not be a build, may not be a script, right? Um, but I think I'm effective at what I do. I'm effective at relaying a message. Um, but I just didn't feel like I was valued on that build, and it was brought to the light, and I didn't feel good about the space I was in. So I realized, being a little bit older, I don't really do the nightclubs. I'm not really a socializer type person, despite what people may think. I do a lot of speaking on stage, but I'm not really a social person. So I don't necessarily like to be involved in big crowds of people where the band is just going back and forth and it doesn't really lead to anything. That's just not my personality. I'm an introvert at heart. So being in those spaces causes me a bit of anxiety, and I just don't want to be there sometimes, unfortunately. Nothing against, the invites or anything else, but I just don't know for my mental capacity, that doesn't work well for me. Yes, I can pop up, I'm there for 5 minutes, but if you ever notice me, I'm doing a Michael Jackson moonwalk to a corner and then disappearing some point during the night relatively quickly, right? So I knew kind of what I wanted to see in the space, which I didn't see. I'm a big fan of TED Talks. And I was like, why is there no quiet spaces in here? Like where we can just talk,
Right.
Like, and not necessarily a podcast where it gets really rah rah, but man, can we just hear like conversations and have
Yeah.
people talk?
Yeah.
And I like the TED Talk format. I like the one creator or the one person on the stage talking about their business or what has impacted them in their life that may cause an impact into somebody else's life. And I was just like, man, you know what? I'm going to build that, and I left that build I was on feeling a certain kind of way, like I had to prove myself. I was like, man, I left it with the I'm going to show you attitude.
Right.
Right. It was really personal to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you wait till I see what I build. But, I built, pretty unique design, whether it's aesthetically pleasing doesn't really bother me because I built it and I like it. Um, but after my first show, um, it was really my second show that I realized what that thing could become.
Mm-hmm.
It was Smile Honeychild on that show, and we got to hear her story.
Oh my gosh, she was so
good. On that show.
Yeah.
And to be in VR with 30 people in the audience crying in their headsets over her story, but to also understand, if you knew Smile Honeychild and what she did in the space, to learn why she was so passionate about it, I knew that this show was different. I didn't hinder what people could talk about on that stage. I never encouraged people to talk about the traumas that they've been through to get to that point. Mm-hmm. And I never sought people out to do that either. Right? I don't glamorize trauma in people's journey. It's very instinctual, that show. People have asked me to be in that show, and honestly, not to be real, I say no because I don't feel that for the show at the time, right? And I don't seek out people because they're popular to be on the show. I can have a conversation with somebody for 5 or 10 minutes and be so engaged with that conversation that I think they make a good guest, right? And it's unfortunate because obviously I'd love to highlight everybody in the community, but the show has a feeling. And I've seen a lot of shows in here, and again, I'm not bragging or talking about my show, but I don't think there's ever been a show that's been able to capture that in the metaverse.
No.
Yeah, it's different.
No.
And I have 130 likes, so it's not like it's but but I know that because I had the same people show up every week because of what it did and the healing it brought to people. And 40 shows, 4 seasons into it, it's made me realize and really love the space.
Yeah.
But also understand creators and the things that they need. Sometimes they just want to tell their story on the stage. That's it. They don't get a chance to do that through their builds all the time. We don't know why they build this stuff. But to give them a platform to do that, man, it has been brought me so much peace. And that really, out of all the worlds that I've created, is the one world that I am protective as a parent over. I don't rush that show, which is why it's been gone since last April, because I haven't had the time or energy to dedicate to it to feel like it's time for it to come back. But I'm there now. With you guys' help, man, I'm so excited.
So
I'm
excited.
excited.
The reason why I wanted to, even get you to consider bringing it back is because it's needed. It's not, it wasn't that, it's just them telling their story.
Yeah.
But to be recognized by your peers, to be encouraged by your peers.
There was a lot of that in that show.
That, I know for me, at the level I was when you asked me, I still was in that spot of not knowing, what I was doing.
Right. But you didn't know that for yourself.
I didn't know. People knew.
Right.
But I personally, I had no idea. Yeah. I just, like I said, I was doing it as I was at that moment, I was doing a build a day. Yeah. I was still going every day, building and posting. And I didn't realize that people were impacted by what I was doing. And you told me that. Yeah. And you reassured me of that. And so I'm so grateful to have you and have CJ and have people like Nikki Danielle and have people like Westside Hope. Shout out to I Go by Price, the Chocolate, West Hope, Nikki Danielle, CJ Shotlow. It's so many of you guys. Dangerously Wild, Stay Arts. That is my circle. Yeah. That is
Country for Life.
Oh my God. Yeah. Country for Life, Color Queen. These are people that were pivotal in my journey. Yeah. And were in the trenches with me, showing me, teaching me, helping me cultivate that gift. And that was so important to me. I don't feel like I've ever in this life had that type of support.
But to do that in front of an audience of people that love you, right? Genuinely love you, right? Like the affirmations that were shared back and forth from those stages, because half the times when it came time to hit that button and pop up and ask the question, it wasn't a question. It was just to say, man, you know what? Just thank you. Like I love what you're doing. You've always been this person. You've changed my life this way. Man, that just offers something so different. Yeah. And even for people who may have thought, there have been people on my stage who have thought about giving it up.
That's it.
Up until they came on that show, right? Mm-hmm. And again, I
was one of them.
I can't predict what happens on the show, right? And I don't push it in any direction. The show is organic. It does what it's going to do. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think there's ever been a space in there that has allowed for that to happen.
No. Not organically, no.
Not organically, no. It's always forced or we're leading. Like, I don't interview people.
No.
I just listen, the stage is yours, whatever you want to talk about.
Freeform.
But people feel comfortable because they're around the people they love and they can really express themselves without having to put on an image or be this person continually that, like, maybe the public that doesn't really know you sees you as. It's different. Now listen, the platform has changed quite a bit. The space has changed a lot. Whether or not the show is going to have the same impact that it did for the first 4 seasons,
I feel like it will.
I don't know. We'll see, right? But I know the level of peace it can bring to people, and I'm still going to continue on that journey on this new amazing platform that you're providing for me, which I'm excited about. So
let's just tell them now when.
Wait, listen. Before you say that, understand this. What this show means to me. I give that show to nobody.
Right.
I've been approached for that show to be streamed on multiple platforms, and I've always graciously declined because it has to be presented in a certain way. It can't be used because of popularity, whether it be my name or the guests that are on that show. I'd rather the show sit there and not do anything before I give it away to somebody. Like, you ain't just gonna leave your babies at anybody's house.
No.
It's like, who live in the house with you? Is the daddy there? How many dogs they got? They got big brothers? They got big brothers? What they eat at night? Who's the next door neighbor? Like, you want to know these things before you drop most of us anyway.
Yeah.
Want to know these things before you drop your baby off at somebody's house. And that's really how I look at that show. But when you guys approached me with the opportunity, I was like, absolutely. Didn't even hesitate.
Oh yeah.
Didn't even
Well,
hesitate.
the thing about it is it's needed. It's needed. It's needed. And for us, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer. When we decided to take this on, we definitely wanted to, we saw the need because the community needs it, you know, and we're so happy to take it on. But what I want people to understand is that you're back and better than ever.
Yeah, I hope so.
And if you haven't seen it, if you weren't there during the time it was on, it's something that you definitely don't want to miss out on. It's something that everyone should get the opportunity to experience. Yeah. So that's one thing I want to stress, and I'm just elated. Well, tell them where it's going to be, because it is now Meta Talks Live. If you have not seen on the Lux Vision Studios page, Meta Talks Live will be streamed on all platforms on the Lux Vision Studios page, on YouTube and on Instagram and on Facebook and on TikTok. So you just imagine, you can imagine it's going to be, we want to get the word out to as many people as possible so that we can bring them in and they can understand that this is an inviting community. This is a community where you can find your tribe. Yeah. You can foster relationships and overall just have a good social experience. Yeah. That's what it was. That's what it's going to be, as far in my book. That's what it's going to be. It's never going to change. Yeah. And medically, this is so good. Listen, I am so. Let me not get emotional now, but I am extremely proud of you guys' journey. Because I do understand the trials and tribulations and the moments of frustration that almost made you stop, right? But man, I feel. Listen, I don't care if I played a part in what you feel like I played a part in your success, but no matter what, for as a creator who has found people that they truly genuinely care about, I'm a see, I told you we can't. I'm having a I'm just extremely happy for you. I really am, and I really honestly truly wish you nothing but the best. I'm crying. And listen, the sky is just a starting point, in my opinion, right? Yeah. The universe is a big space, and you can touch every part of it if you want to. And I'm just really, really happy for your success. And anything I can do to help you in the future, man, you know I'm always there. Oh yeah, you know I'm always there. So. Well, this has been the making of with Medically Rupert. You guys tune in to the next episode. This has been a successful. Confetti. Thank you guys so much for joining. Keep tapped in, tune into the Lux Vision Studios page so that you guys can keep up on the next guest of the making of. Thank you guys for watching. Peace. See y'all later. Oh, create, love, inspire, and add value. Yes. You know what it is. Yes. See y'all later. Peace, y'all.